Hi guys, and welcome to the Lifestyle Design Secrets podcast, where we talk about fitness, nutrition, mindset, and a whole lot more. Thank you for everyone who's listened to all our episodes so far and taken the time to leave a review. If you do enjoy this episode and want the free content to keep on coming, please do take 2 seconds to leave us a 5-star review. Thanks again. Now let's dive in. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm so excited today to have Michelle Matangi on with me. And full confession, I found Michelle because I was listening to her on Mickey Willard's podcast, and it was amazing. The tangents are wonderful, the honesty, and I think a lot of you will really, really resonate with everything Michelle has to say. So as a little bit of a background, Michelle is a mindset coach, and you've got a new course called Navigating the Middle, as well as one-on-one coaching.
Yes.
But I will stop chatting and let Michelle do some talking. So as our saucy starter, Michelle, please give us a little bit of a background to you.
Okay, I feel like, where do I start? Because I feel like there's so much background. It's like, where do you start? So I'll try and start from, I guess, I've struggled with my weight, and I guess we'll just drop in there. I've struggled with my weight probably since I was probably a kid, to be quite honest. And then, I went through a lot as a child, which I obviously shared on Mickey's podcast. We could go into that if we need to, but I'll give you the intro first. Basically, I yo-yoed with my weight hugely. Like, my highest weight was 107 kilos. My lowest weight was 55. So you can see that's quite extreme, differences. Mm-hmm. And I guess, I really felt so uncomfortable in my skin. I felt like if I could just find the perfect diet, I could finally be
the magic pill.
Perfect and amazing, the magic pill. Yeah. And, I guess over the course of probably 10 years, I discovered that there was so much more to weight loss than just the diet and the exercise and all that, and that it was way more about our mindset. And that's essentially how I ended up in coaching, because I was like, this is the part that people are missing, generally speaking. And so through my own trials and tribulations and discovering what's worked for me, and then I guess what helps other people, because of different things work for different people, I've put my passion into my course and helping women basically try to make the changes that I've made and that I'm still working on. It's always a work in progress. It's not something that you just land at.
Yeah, absolutely. In Mickey's podcast, you said you hate the word journey, but it's so bloody true.
I know. I hate it because it sounds cliche, because you're like, oh, it's a journey. But it's like, it is. You really are going on this lifelong path, especially if you're someone who struggles with your self-perception and, the way you see yourself and your behaviors. I think you're always going to be on some kind of journey that is keeping you not on the straight and narrow, so to speak, but keeping you engaged in those healthy habits that you've worked so hard for,
Yeah, I'm going to throw another cliche in there, but mindfulness, like I hate it.
Yeah.
I know. Hate it, but it's so important. And
it is.
I think it's because I came to that quite late in the game. I lost about 12 kilos and I was like, I've got this shit nailed. I was eating the protein, doing a cross between like a bit of a natural paleo style with a bit of bodybuilder style stuff thrown in there, and just killing myself at the gym in a kind of healthy way. But the mindset piece was totally lost on me. Like I was just running off cortisol. And what I found really interesting that you mentioned, when your nervous system then gets thrown out of whack, it's like, oh, holy shit, what do I do now?
Yep. And that's it. I mean, that's why they call it a nervous breakdown, because it is literally your nervous system having a breakdown when people get to that point. And we want to try and get to the point that we don't get to we don't get to that extreme. And so I guess it's recognizing. Yeah, so that's what I teach in my course. I also teach it with my clients, is understanding the nervous system and having a sense of, I guess, what I would call nervous system hygiene. So just like you clean your teeth, just like you work out, like all those things, is actually having a nervous system hygiene. Like you look after your nervous system the way you would your body,
Yeah, because it's checking in with yourself. How does that
it's
start?
everything. Yeah, it's like, so your nervous system is, it's separated into obviously your central nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. So we have like multiple parts. It's a super complicated system.
No, but I love that and the difference between the two, because I've definitely been stuck in one more than the other.
Oh yeah. So there's the autonomic nervous system basically is what is, it's your breathing, it's everything that happens automatically, and we can end up in such a state of not actually recognizing whether we're in this like hypo state or a hyper. And so hypo is kind of when you're tapped out, you've been running on, running like crazy, burning the candle at both ends, you're completely burnt out, and you end up in that kind of hypo state where you kind of can't move off the couch. It's kind of like what you would call immobilization. So basically your nervous system becomes immobilized and you basically feel like you can't move, which is I've had it. I certainly have gone there. And other people can end up in a hyper state, which is actually the opposite, which is just the go, go, go. And they're constantly going. Their anxiety is so high, they can't sleep. They've got, like constant insomnia. They're almost moving too much. So it's like trying to find which one are you in. And you can oscillate between the two. So you don't necessarily, stay in one.
Yeah.
But it's it's recognizing which one you're in. Mm.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting that you touched on that and the swings, because I think I've been so far into the hyper anxious rushing woman syndrome. You mentioned, like rushing to the gym, to the job, commuting, getting home, cooking, like doing all of the things, and like can't sleep because your head is like a ping pong ball.
Yeah.
And, for me it was actually catching COVID eventually.
Oh, that slowed you down?
Down like a ton of bricks, and everyone's like, you're so fit, I don't understand. And I was like, full nervous system, like you say, just could not move. And it's also the psychological, and I think love to touch on this with you, because when you do have a big life event, some kind of trauma or a huge change in your life, anything that can trigger this sort of thing, it's not just the physical. So yes, I got COVID and I don't think I've ever had the flu before, so that was a real shock. But it was the fact that it's like, how do I run my businesses? How do I exercise? Because I was such an exercise junkie. How do I still keep being me after this huge takedown?
Huge event. Yeah. And that's I think the hardest thing when you have had a big event, like a sickness like that. I went through that with, obviously, when my dad passed away, and now my mum's going through terminal cancer. So the same thing, your nervous system just gets so tapped out, and you're like, but I still have to make money. I still have to, do the things that I want to look after myself still. There's all these things that we need to do. And there's only so much we can do. And we try to do it all, of course, because we're in a world now that thinks that we can do it all.
Oh, you just carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, you just keep going. Just take a concrete pill, is it? And you just keep going.
A concrete pill.
Never heard that one. Oh, have you not heard that one? That's the terminology that people have used for like mental health, or your mental well-being. It's like just take a concrete pill. Yeah, just harden up, basically. Yeah. So I guess it's the concept of it's crazy. It's crazy.
What you just said, that really reminded me of stuff that I used to say to me and my friends all the time. TUP. Oh my God. Toughen up, princess.
Toughen up. Yeah.
Stuff like that. What's the other? No, just man up.
Man up.
Such
I know. So basically go into your masculine, which means, your masculine is your problem solving. It's like, it's all about masculine is solution based. Whether you're a man or you're a woman, you can still have masculine or feminine energy. But it's like we go too much in the masculine, and we don't go enough of that like nurturing side, which is our feminine, which is the part where we take care of ourselves and we actually give ourselves a break and not only give ourselves a break. And it's not about just taking an easy way out. It's knowing that you've tapped out your nervous system so much through doing too much that you actually, and everyone's going to have a different resilience when it comes to your nervous system. Like some people will have a much bigger, I guess, more spoons to choose from, I guess you could say. Like some people have like 8 spoons and some people have 20 spoons. So, there's going to be a difference in that. And knowing that is different for different people. I mean, regardless of how perfect your diet is and how much exercise, like some people just do have less reserves and less nervous system function than others. And so I guess it's knowing that try not to paint everyone with that same picture that, oh, everyone should just be able to do this, and you'll be fine. It's not always that simple. You know, there's complications with that. So I guess it's recognizing that while you can dial in all these perfect things, and obviously we want to look after ourselves and do those things, also recognizing that you are dealing with a system that might feel a bit broken. And if you don't actually learn the tools to if you don't learn the tools to look after it, you're basically going to be chasing your tail, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to cut in here and actually read an excerpt from your website just on the homepage. So I hope it doesn't make you cringe, because I hate when people read stuff to me. But you basically sum it up. Great homepage. So you're a health and lifestyle coach passionate about self-development coaching. I believe that having a healthy relationship with food in our body begins with having a healthy relationships with ourselves at a core level. I also believe it's possible to enjoy a healthy, sustainable lifestyle that can help you achieve your goals. You do not need to live your life stuck in a body that doesn't serve you, or live a life that's unfulfilling. And I think that's an incredible point, because a lot of my clients go, I don't feel like myself at the moment.
Yeah. Real common.
Yeah, really common. Yeah. And then even after a few weeks, they're like, I feel so much more in control. And it's not
exactly
over controlling, but it's because you've been so far away from yourself, and
that's right,
focused on everyone else and not in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
The outside world has a big part to play.
It does. And I mean there's that, and then there's also having boundaries with other people and with yourself, right? So boundaries is a huge part, values is a huge part, and really getting to know yourself. Like, a lot of people don't, I know this sounds crazy and you think I know myself, but you might know yourself and who you feel like you are at your core, but you might be living in a state of who you think you should be versus who you truly are. And they're two very different things.
Yeah.
And so we have this thing called, which I talk about in my course, called cognitive distortion, which is basically, so it's your self-perception, it's your self-belief. So you're basically, when you think about it, your behaviors shape your behaviors and all of your habits, basically. So the way you see yourself is your identity, your self-belief will shape all of your behaviors. Yeah, your identity, your sense of self. And so if you've got cognitive distortion, which is basically an error in your thinking, which is quite common, particularly amongst women, but I think it's common amongst a lot of people, especially if you've had any kind of traumas, and they don't even need to be extreme traumas, just growing up in an environment where you maybe were walking on eggshells, or maybe you were told to watch what you eat, and like certain things like that.
Yeah.
I see the eye roll. You're that was me.
Yeah, there is so much coming up at so many different levels, and it's like you say, it doesn't have to be. Do they call it now capital T trauma?
Like little T and big T.
Yeah, little T. So just even little things that have built up over time.
Yeah,
and I feel like I should get you both on one podcast, but I'm not sure any of us would get any words in. But Paula Moore, my friend, who is also a mindset coach, she helped me learn so much. So I grew up in the centre of London during the kind of Kate Moss, nothing tastes as good as Skinny Feels era. It was wonderful, hey? And,
wonderful.
Yeah, with a Kiwi dad, so people were going, don't worry, you're half Kiwi, you're just big boned. I went to Performing Arts Girls' School and was a dancer. Oh, gosh. So it's just a shit show. And then Paula also helped me work through, all of that in my upbringing. And then, certain boys that I liked, choosing someone else over me who happened to be a really fit triathlete. Suddenly, so much of my self-worth was tied to being thin and fit.
Yep.
And I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it's
so
just
you had no awareness about it before.
No.
Yeah.
No. And it's not until it's someone like you got it all out of me. And I was like, holy hecker.
Yeah. That's our job. That's what we do is, I mean, coaching and therapy are two different things. And I mean, as much as a lot of coaches use therapy, sort of, I guess, elements, like cognitive distortion and things like that, they are very much based in therapy. But it's, I guess, knowing where the line ends, like where we are, beyond our capability. So, you know, I know that I'm not going to be dealing with someone who's been sexually abused and has gone through serious post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm not going to be dealing with that. But we've got, but also I can generally help people recognize between those little traumas and those big traumas. And if they've got the big traumas, they need to go and get therapy. And if you've got lots of little T's, generally speaking, you can normally work through it yourself. But at the same time, having a coach or a therapist or someone that can help guide you can be super, super valuable, because often you don't see them. Like you said, like you didn't know that. It was all just happening, and it happens all in your subconscious. And because we live out our day 90% in the subconscious, we miss it all. We don't realize that that's actually guiding all of the behaviors that we're doing, because we've got this self-identity, we've got this belief about ourselves that is completely distorted or flawed in our own perception. And so that impacts how we then see the world, and then it impacts how we show up in the world, and then how people then respond to us will then directly affect our self-belief again. So it's this vicious cycle. So until you can actually recognize it, have awareness, pull back, make changes, understand, are you doing this because you love it, because you want to do it because it's who you believe you are, or are you doing it because it's someone else's vocabulary? So it's interesting.
Because you feel like you should.
Yeah. Are you doing it because you think you should, or are you doing it because it's what you want to do? And is it a voice of someone else in your mind? I always say that, like, is it your mum's voice in your head that's going, don't eat that, or don't do that, or, you know, don't spend that, or don't, you know, whatever it might be. Like, just recognizing, like, is it your voice or is it someone else's?
Yes. I think
often
that's so
someone
powerful.
Else's.
Yeah. And there's so many women who come to me, like you say, you just live, women and men, like, but you live in your, do you say subconscious kind of, like 90, 95% of the time. Yeah. And when you've been told that, you know, you're chubby or you're overweight, or you've been telling yourself that for years, and you have to go to work and you have to do all these things, and your worth is so tied to all these external factors, and you're just rushing because you've got a job, you've got kids, and women just get completely lost. And I think where you come in is so important, because like you say, it's not huge trauma, but it's navigating the middle, right?
It's navigating. That's why I call it that.
Like there are a lot of women these days who aren't, like you say, no huge trauma, no huge triggers, but just really, really lost.
Yeah, like, lots of, because it's all subtle. It's almost like you miss it because it's so subtle.
It's not bad enough to, like...
it's not bad enough to go, oh, we've just been in a war, we've just had abuse, we've just had, or something like really extreme. If it's not that, we often just brush it off. It's that very much, and so I use the term, I don't know if you've ever heard of somatic work. I don't know if that's something you've ever come across. Yeah, so I always kind of try and think of the way, like, when we've gone through some sort of trauma, regardless of whether it's small, whether it's big, if you acted like a dog did, which is actually how we should be because we are animals, if a dog has an attack, you know, if a dog had an attack or had some kind of confronting scenario, afterwards you'll actually see them shake.
Like do a Taylor Swift and shake it off?
Oh, they just actually literally shake it. Their whole body trembles and it shakes. And it's because it's their adrenaline trying to, like the energy of adrenaline is escaping their body. Yeah. It's a natural thing to do. But as humans, we don't do that. Again, it's the harden up, carry on, keep going,
we
brush
just
it
bottle
off.
it up.
Just bottle it up. And what happens is that there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, which is basically your body keeps the score of all of those energetic shifts that have happened that are generally not so good most of the time. And we have built up this system, and this is where the nervous system comes in, and it basically, anything will, you know, you almost start to have this baseline of like your nervous system can't handle certain things because you haven't dealt with your traumas, all these little T's.
Everything that's underlying.
All the underlying stuff. And I guess, you know, people are busy, so they don't often feel like they have time to stop and do coaching or do this kind of work because they're like, oh, I don't have time to do that. And so what happens is they get to a point where they break, they get COVID, they get something like big happens, they have a breakdown, they end up in hospital, something big happens, and that's when they start to pay attention. And unfortunately, we need to pay attention before the
ideally
event.
before that.
Ideally would be
you're
good.
Completely right, because like you say, a lot of your clients, or like when you break, or a lot of women you come to me, it's by that point they're in so much pain, and are so far away from where they want to be, that it's this big project to get them back, if that makes sense.
Like I think it feels insurmountable to them. They're just like, this is just too big of a mountain to climb. I can't do it. Oh, life's okay. Oh, it'll do. It's fine. And they're really starting to lower their standards and put up the stuff that they really wouldn't have done before, you know? And it's just because they're exhausted, generally speaking.
So true.
You know?
You used a really amazing analogy in Mickey's podcast about the like river flowing downstream and following the same path.
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Tell me more.
So this is basically the neural pathways in your brain. So this is again where we start doing the same thing. We do the same thing every day, you know, like you brush your teeth, you drive to work the same way, you put your seatbelt on the same way, you do your shoes up, you put your jacket, like everything is done generally in the same way. Simple
things like that.
Yeah. You often say the same things. Like we're just very much creatures of habit, essentially. You know, I mean, all you need to do is read James Clear book, and you know, most people know this book by now.
I want to get onto that.
Yeah, I read it years. I read it like so many years ago before it became popular. Because you know I'm a book geek and a science geek, and I just read all this stuff. And now it's become really popular, and everyone's talking about, which is fantastic because it's such an amazing book. But basically, it is the neural pathways in your brain are like crevices on a mountain. So you sort of think the mountain has these crevices that have been formed from water going down them. And generally speaking, the reason it's happened is because it's the best route to go, right? Generally speaking, that's what it's the easiest route, and it's the most efficient route to go. Now, it might not actually be the kind of route you want to go. Like there might be another route that it could take, but it's not going to take that because it's already carved out the path of where it's going to go. So to try and carve out a new path is quite hard because what is already going down the path it knows. So now we're going to try and carve a new. It's a huge amount. Yeah.
Huge amount of energy to change it, I think.
It is. Yeah. Because you're using, and the other analogy I use is you trying to use your resources and energy and valuable time on a person that you don't know yet, which is your future self.
It's I've never really had that.
Yeah, so there's a massive gap. Yeah, so like basically who you are now is what you spend all your time on, right? Like you spend your time on who you are today.
Yeah.
And if that's someone that you're not really that happy with, then you are making that version of yourself stronger. But if you want to try and make a future version of yourself, which is going to be better habits, the behaviors that you want to have that are easy, you want to be able to just have the life that you've dreamt of, but you don't know who that person is yet because you've never met. Like,
possible.
Well, you don't know if it's possible because you've never seen it before for yourself. You might have seen it for other people, and that can help. But usually, if you haven't seen it for yourself, you haven't really met her yet. You don't know what her life is like. You don't really understand how great it could be. So there's this massive gap between why would I spend my valuable time and energy on someone I don't know? Basically, you're asking that of yourself every time you try and carve a different path. And that's a big ask because, like I said, like we're busy people, we're doing a lot of things. Let's try and add in another thing to say, hey, try and make a better decision for yourself and go this way for someone you don't know yet. It's quite, for your mind, it's a lot to get your head around,
Yeah. It's again, I'm like not rolling my eyes, but I'm like agreeing with you on so many levels because I'm sat here. I'll talk about myself and then talk about some clients I'll talk about them first. So again, I only started working with Paula, a mindset coach, a year ago.
Yeah. Wow,
if I look at the changes in a year, I remember saying to her, and I was like, I don't understand. I'm giving my clients all of the tools. They do amazingly. Why after the, 6 or 12 weeks, do they go, Amy, we'll get onto language in a minute.
Yeah.
I've fallen off the wagon. Yeah. And Paula was so smart and quite accurately reminded me that they weren't ready to welcome being a fit and healthy person into their identity.
That's right.
So,
It's all about identity change. Huge.
yeah. And now my
Yeah.
programs look very different, and they're a lot more about
Yes.
understanding your why and delving deeper into your
Yep.
behavior, because you
Yep.
can do all of the things. You can eat all of the good
Yep.
food. But like you say, if
Yep.
your mindset isn't right,
Yep.
it's all going to turn to custard.
It is going to turn to custard again, like it's a self-perception, it's a self-belief, which is your identity. And if you have to shape a new identity for yourself, you actually have to say, this is who I want to be. This is like, and this is a reason why people generally tend to gain weight back, is because they might have shifted all these like habits, and they might have even become behaviors by that point, but they still don't identify with being a healthy fit person that naturally, goes for a walk and eats good food and meal preps and, all of that stuff. They don't identify with being that person. They're still stuck back in the old identity. So they just slot back into, when adversity hits generally, they slot back into the old self. And so the identity shift is a big one. And that's where the visualization, the future self comes in, and then using the RAS system, which is, again, getting into a lot of science here, but the RAS system, so the RAS system is your reticular activating system, and it's basically the filter that you have. Your mind, it's in your brain, and it's a filter that basically your brain will filter out the information you don't need to concentrate on and the stuff that you do want to concentrate on. So you use this to your advantage. So we get, I think it's 11 million bits per second of information overload, but our conscious mind can only process 40 to 120 bits per second. That's a huge difference, right? So the amount we're getting in and what we can actually consciously process are two very different things. So I'll give you an example. If you were to say you decided you were going to buy a new car, and you decided you're going to buy, say, like a blue Tesla, let's just use that as an example. But in your mind, you're like, beforehand, you've never seen blue Teslas really before. You never paid attention because it's never been in your budget. It's never been something that's been of like availability to you. You've never even thought about it. Now it's become available to you. You start seeing them everywhere. Now, those blue Teslas have always been there. They've always been there, but now you're seeing them because the filter in your brain is starting to go, this is important to me. It's in my line sight, and now I'm going to pay attention. And that's how you basically visualize stuff to bring into fruition. Yeah. So the RAS system you want to use to your advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I suppose courses like this can be so powerful when people are ready, like mindset or fitness, nutrition coaching, or a combination.
Yeah.
Because suddenly they turn up, they have the tools, but they're suddenly paying attention.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you don't pay attention to something, then why would you spend your energy on it? Like, why would you do something on something that you have never paid attention to and you don't want to? So you've really got to bring into, like you said, make your goals clear, get really clear about them, go, what is it that I want? Who do I want to become? What are the changes that I'm actually looking to make? And because if you don't get clear about it, it's almost just like all running around in your head, and you're kind of like, I kind of want to do this and I kind of want to do that, but there's no skin in the game. There's no sort of like, I'm here to change. I'm here to do this. And this again is where money comes into it for some people. Like when they put money on the line, they're like, I am here and I am like dedicated. And for other people, it's like, and that's not true for everyone, because I have had people that have paid, back in my early days where my costs were so low, people that were really ready to change, they could still get results. So it's not necessarily true, but for a lot, I think for the majority of the people, you pay and you pay attention is saying for a reason, basically, because
you stole my saying. I love that saying.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It is. You've got to have skin in the game. You've got to go, I am willing to put something that I value, because you value money generally. I value this enough that I'm going to pay attention to it. So we take care of what we value, So if you think about, if you've got kids, if you've got a husband, you've got a nice car, house, whatever, you take care of it. And so it's getting clear on what your values are. So that's one thing I work on, is knowing like, what are your values? Like for me, I know my mental health is one of my top values. My creativity is one of my top values, because I know the difference it makes to my life if I pay attention to those elements in my life. So I guess it's just that's what I mean about everyone's going to have different values. They're not all going to be the same, but it's recognizing that when you do understand what you do value, you will pay attention. And when you pay attention and you show up and you put in the work, you will get the result. But a lot of people don't know the sort of, I guess, the stages that it takes to actually make change tangible.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Absolutely.
It can all be good in theory, but actually doing the work and putting in the hard work, it's hard, you know?
Yeah. It's really hard. And I think so we talked briefly about James Clear's book, but the other one that you talked about with Mickey is Dopamine Nation.
Yes. Oh, God. Anna
Dopamine.
Yeah. Good old dopamine. So dopamine is the desire hormone. So it's basically what keeps you in the desire of chasing the thing. So, you know, it's why when you have a piece of chocolate, you want to have another piece of chocolate because you're desiring the next thing. Basically, understanding that we are wired generally for hedonistic behaviors, you know,
100%.
a lot of the time. Yeah, we want to have the salty, fatty, sugary foods. We want to, if our mind is left to its own devices, we will just lay like a sloth in front of the TV and scroll, you know, like, because
so dive in on that point, and that's exactly right, like hedonism, right? We want the yummiest foods because we don't know when we're going to get more back in the day. We want to sit like a sloth because again we need to preserve our energy, we want all the hedonistic things like the food, the going out drinking, the sex, all of it, so that we reproduce. Like we are wired to want more dopamine.
That's right. We are hardwired. So it's recognizing that when you get the dopamine, are you getting expensive dopamine or cheap dopamine hits? Because there's a difference, right? So the expensive dopamine is the working out. It's the eating healthy food. It's the going for a walk in nature. It's, you know, having decent connection with people. It's, you know, because all of those things give you dopamine. It's like hanging out with your dog and doing fun things like that does give you dopamine, but it comes at a cost. It's expensive because you actually have to put your resources and energy into actually like getting the dopamine. But for most people, because of the way we're wired and we want to have the easy access and we don't want to have to use our energy, we go for the cheap dopamine hits, which is the processed food, the drinking, the shopping, the sex, the gambling, porn, you name it, like whatever thing that you decide to use. It's, you know, scrolling on your phone, too much screen time, basically being a hermit too much, like never seeing people, never going out and actually like connecting with people. Two different things too, because I mean one can be like just going out to drink and get pissed, and the other one can be actually going and like connecting with genuine people that like
going for a walk
fires you up. Going for a walk and having great conversation and making real like human connection. Those, when you've got one on the table that looks easy and accessible and, you know, self-preservation, like you're always going to want to go for the cheap dopamine hit. I mean, it's just because you're getting it in bucket loads as well. You're getting so much dopamine when you jump on your phone. It's wired, and it's just getting worse. Like we pick up our phones, I think it's between 120 to 150 times a day. Like that's crazy when you think about it, right?
It's awful, isn't it? And how many words do you even say to your partner during the day?
Exactly. You know, it's like, so I guess it's like, it's not about being like, oh, we've got to be perfect and make all the right decisions, because there's no right or wrong. It's just recognizing what are you giving your attention to? What are you consuming? What are you actually making a priority over other stuff that actually could make your life so much better? You know, I guess it's, you know, it's like getting enough sleep. That's the thing. We'd rather just lay in our phone and like scroll social media or something. But it's like, if your brain gets that blue light, the melatonin doesn't kick in to say we're sleepy, we're ready to go to sleep. And so it delays it by, I think, even 1 hour of reading a book on your iPad versus under natural light, I think delays your melatonin by 90 to 120 minutes. So that's, you know, at least an hour or two less sleep.
A lot of people say to me, oh, I know I should put it down, but a lot of people have no idea.
Yeah.
And I think you're like this, Michelle. So you call it cheap and expensive dopamine. I've always called it because of a friend who he always called it type 1 and type 2 fun. Right. So when I was out on a walk or a hike, or we were training for a triathlon together, and she was like, "Shut up, Amy, it's type 2 fun." And she was so right, because like you said, the type 2 fun is going out for a walk, going out for a run, doing a workout. Afterwards, you feel so on fire from the endorphins or the adrenaline. But it's even just prepping meals. Like, I know it sounds so odd, but like what I'm recognizing that I shift with a lot of my clients is switching them from type 1 cheap dopamine to type 2, which is, rather than going, I don't have time, I'm going to go and grab a muffin from the cafe. I don't have time to walk, I'm going to sit and scroll for an extra 10 minutes. I'm going to eat the chocolate. I'm going to reach for the sugar. Switching that. And they do get such a sense of a dopamine hit and satisfaction when they've prepped their meals for the week, been out for a walk and seen the sunshine, had an extra couple hours sleep because they haven't been scrolling on their phone. But it's it's our world, like we said, is wired for type 1 or cheap 100%. Dopamine. So shifting to the type 2 is hard. It's diverting that river.
And I mean, and that's why, so when you are diverting, it's like having strategies that give you like a quick little amount of dopamine, like things like having habit trackers, things like that can be helpful, because, you know, like you said, meal prepping, like ticking off, I've done this, I've done that gives you a little bit of like, oh, that felt good, like I did something for myself, that
look at me go, look
at me go, like I actually can change this. So I guess like having little strategies like that along the way can be really helpful. And another thing that I use is which you may have heard of, called the obstacle strategy. It's kind of like the obstacle is the way. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Oh no, tell us more.
So, I mean, you when I say it, you'll be like, oh, yeah. So it's basically like it's basically changing your environment up to make things easier for yourself. You know, it's like making sure that you have, if you've got an obstacle in the way, you're going to be less likely to do the thing. So for instance, if you want to go out walking, and I started to do this for myself, if I get my clothes ready the night before, I've got my undies, I've got my dog bags, I've got every single, down to my hair tie, every single thing is ready, sunglasses, just the whole lot is just ready to go.
Yeah.
I get up, it takes me two minutes to chuck all that shit on and get out the door, because there's no, where's my undies, where's my hair tie, where's this? There's no time, there's no more obstacles. To get you out the door. And same with, like, my husband does it with his gym bag. He has his gym bag ready to go. Like, when he gets home from the gym, he changes out, like, puts his clothes in the washing, puts all new stuff in, drink bottle, everything, puts it in the car or by the door. So there's just no obstacle to go, oh, I don't have my bag with me, I don't have this stuff ready for me. It's just making those
just too hard,
effortless. It's just too hard, because by the time you get, again, if you've got a distorted sense of self, which is a self-perception that might be self-deprecating, you start to get in the trap of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worth it, why bother, I've tried to do it before, I've tried to make these changes, it's never worked. Like, if you're that kind of person, which I know I am, then often that wins. If you've got too many obstacles in the way, you're just like, to hell with it, I can't be bothered.
James Clear explains that really well, and I'm going to butcher his quote, but something about you don't rely on willpower, you fall to the level of your processes.
Your processes,
the systems that you have in place.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
so like
100%.
Your system for getting ready to go out for a walk in the morning.
Yeah,
you won't fail, because
because you've got it there.
You haven't made yourself require the willpower.
That's right. Because your willpower resources are finite, right? So you use them every day, like every second of every day. You are, and it fatigues over the day. So if you're leaving I don't leave my exercise to the end of the day, because I just know, like, the way that my brain works. I'm like, I need to do it in the morning, and that means it gets done, I get it out of the way, I don't think about it. And there's also another saying by Mark Twain called eat the frog in the morning. So the thing that you procrastinate about the most, you get that done, and then you find yourself eating lots of little frogs through the day because you've got the big one done.
Everything
and then the rest seems simple. Everything seems simple. So I guess it's making yourself do hard things, I mean, depending on how hard they are, but, you know, making yourself do things that you might normally put off, but just getting them done. And then you're like, oh, that actually wasn't so bad. Maybe I could do this and maybe I could do that. And you start doing more.
And I think you'd probably agree that you actually start to learn to love them when you know how good they make you feel.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, like, and one of the things I learned from James Clear was you've got to master the art of showing up for yourself before you optimize. So that's, the micro habit element. So it's like learning to do the little thing before you do the big thing. So it's getting out for a 5-minute walk before you do an hour walk, for example,
Yeah.
Getting yourself to do something that takes no thinking, that you basically can't say no to yourself. And if you say no to yourself, you start to question, do I really want this? Do I actually want to make the change? And if you can do that and kind of get your ego out of the way, because that's a whole nother subject, your ego.
Oh God, yeah.
Which is a whole nother thing, and not the ego that you might be thinking, it's basically your mind. But if you can get that part of your mind out of the way, that's like, oh, a 5-minute walk's not going to do enough. If you can kind of like leave your ego at the door and just go, just get it done and just do the 5 minutes. If you show up for yourself every day doing that, you create that habit. It becomes what you do now, and then you start to optimize. Then you start to go, oh, now I'm going to increase it by 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes, whatever, and you just slowly build it up. I saw this happen with myself when I started doing, I'd had hip surgery. I had double hip surgery in 2019. It wasn't replacement, it was actually shortening my ligaments, which was worse because it's I think I was on crutches for like 10 weeks.
Oh,
so it was
God.
really intense. It's when I learned to knit because I was going out of my mind. But I could get on my cycle. I was allowed to cycle because that would help my pain. But I remember then my doctor said to me, you need to build your glutes up as if you're an athlete, because that will prevent you having groin pain because of the way that they shortened I was basically too flexible. My ligaments were like loose rubber bands, which might sound like it could be a good thing, but it's not such a good thing because my hips would fall right out.
Possible injury. Dislocation.
Yeah, they could dislocate. Yeah. So when he said that to me, I was like, took it upon myself to be like, right, I'm going to like do planks every single day. And so I just committed to doing like a plank challenge. So every day I was like, it's only going to take me 2 to 5 minutes or less to do a front, normal plank and then side planks. But the side planks was actually the most important part when it came to for the hip surgery. So I did it every day. I filmed it on my Instagram. I've actually got like a little highlight of my planks, and you can see from when I started, which was, I can't even remember what date it was now, but over 20 weeks of me doing it every day, you can see that I went from being only doing 45 seconds, getting up to doing 2 minutes, and my whole body had changed, because what had happened was when I started doing the planks, I'd be like, oh, my heart rate's up now, so maybe I'll just jump on my bike, or maybe I'll just lift some weights, or maybe I'll just do this. And then I was just naturally exercising, and then as my hips got better, I'd be like, oh, I'll go for a walk in the afternoon. My eating shifted again. My eating was already pretty good anyway, but like so much shifted, and I was like, that's where this whole micro habits works so effectively, because you're showing up for yourself. That's the most important part, is just showing up and doing something. It's better than nothing. And then eventually you will build upon that. So it's a simple thing when you break it down, but our mind, our ego, which is, you can call it part X, you can call it trance, ego, Eckhart Tolle calls it ego. It's basically the part of your mind that wants to, as Phil Stutz, which is Jonah Hill's psychologist, terms part X is the part of your mind that wants to fuck your shit up. I'm using his words.
I'm so intrigued by this, because I did a bit of work on emo. No, please. Every podcast I record, I have to be like, damn it, another explicit content. Oh, well.
I had to like say how he said it, because he's he's like this 70-year-old man who has Parkinson's. And if you've ever watched Stutz on Netflix, it's Dr. Phil Stutz, who is Jonah Hill's therapist.
I started watching it. I haven't watched too much though.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's amazing. Okay. So he has this thing that he calls part X, and it's basically, we all have it. It's all part of us. And like I said, Eckhart Tolle calls it the ego. Tara Brach calls it the trance. Lots of different gurus will call it different things. It's basically a part in your mind that wants to, like I said, F up your shit. And it's there to basically tell you a story, what he says is a dossier about yourself. It's a narrative about who you think you are. right? And that will be from all of the interactions you've had along your whole life. So when people have said to you, oh, you're really clumsy, oh, you're really oh, you're so beautiful but you're not smart, or whatever, like they just all these little things, right? Like I know growing up, my sister was, everyone told my sister she was smart, and then I was pretty, and so I thought that I was not smart, you know. So like you had these, like, you know,
by
because
default,
because no one said that, they would always just go to the, because I was blonde hair, blue-eyed, and so, you know, you get these identities about, you know, these versions of yourself, this perception about who you think you are based on all of the external information that you've had, and it warps your sense of self, which again shapes your behaviors. Like I said, it's this vicious cycle. But if you've got an ego that's really strong, that has all these ego layers, which many of us do, which is how we need to show up in the world because we don't want to be hurt, because we don't want to look stupid, whatever. Like there's so many different ego layers that you'll have. Whether you've had money stories as a kid growing up, you know, you're never going to make money because money was tight, and so now you think money is impossible to get. Just lots of little different stories you have about yourself and what you're capable of. If you start doing like the little things I just said, like these little micro habits, there will be a part in your mind that will try and stop you, because it's going to be like, oh, but that's not good enough. I need to be better. I need to be, you know, I need to do more, or whatever, you know. Or there could be an opposite mind that says, why bother? I'm not good enough. What's the point? You know, and so forth.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That resonates so much, because For me, it's like, there's loads of shit I was told as a kid, like being big boned or chubby or whatever, but that's probably minor compared to, I reckon, what I'm holding based on what like bosses told me.
Oh,
My other business is a marketing business, and in hindsight, I look back at, I've had some amazing ones, but some shocking ones. And the shit that they've told me in the past has carried through to, even though I knew it wasn't the truth at the time and everyone else in the office was sat there rolling their eyes going, what's going on? I get terrified I'm going to get told off. At every single email that comes in, every single bit of communication. If my phone rings, I'm just terrified. It sounds so ridiculous, doesn't it? But what pains me now is I know that, and I'm quite conscious of it. But I see women who are going, oh, I'm working in this job, but I just have to stay there for now. And they've got this horrible boss, and their cortisol's firing. And because their cortisol's so high, they're not sleeping. And then they don't have the energy to exercise. It's just such a vicious cycle. But egos suck.
It does. I mean, that example, I used to work in corporate long time ago, for a website company. Basically, when websites became websites, I worked in a design, like a design part, and also the actual nuts and bolts of actually creating like the domain names and stuff. Anyway, I remember like it became quite a toxic work environment, and like I said, like bosses, people with positions of power that tell you things you believe, because they have this almost like godlike status to you. You kind of like, well, they know better, and they're much more senior than me, and they know more, and so they must be correct. So like I said, you take that on to believe that it's truth, when in actual fact it's just their perception. It's not actually truth.
Even now looking back, I'm like, dear God, like where was mindfulness like a decade ago?
I know.
Ago, like some people you come across, I'm like, mate, will you please go and do some work? Before you even talk to me. And that's something huge about boundaries as well, which I've gone to big. Literally this time last year, I was slogging my guts out in my marketing business for people who, a lot of it was free government funding, so they weren't paying attention. They wanted the earth delivered on a silver platter, and they treated me like shit.
God.
But because I could help them, I kept doing it, and my mental health was not in a good way. So setting boundaries, I think, is what I have to work through with my clients, because they go, I only get half an hour for lunch, and I have to do this. I have to work till 11 p.m. at night. I'm like, no, you do not.
No, you don't. Who says that you need to do that? You know, that's the whole thing. It's like, why are you staying late at work? Like, no one's going to give you a medal. No one's going to go, hey, good on you for doing that. Like, no, you've got to actually, and the thing is, if the boundaries aren't set, people will take advantage up to the point that they can. And it's not until you say, actually, I'm not available for this. And it could be really, it could be really hard to do if you've been a people pleaser. Again, the way that you've grown up, you know, different examples that could have meant that you just pleased everyone in the household to keep peace, whatever, you know. And so as an adult now, you might be like, well, I'm just going to please everyone because it's easier than having to fight or having to say,
it's the only
no,
way.
I don't want to do it. Yeah, so
the only way I knew, I think, for a while.
That's right. And so I think a lot of people are in that place of not recognizing there is another way, and it might be difficult, but it does, in the end, it does pay off because you start to put yourself first, and then you're not burning the candle at both ends. You know, being in that busy state, getting paid crap money for something that, you know, you've put everything into, but no one's actually appreciated. And it's often the way the people that paid the least expect the most. It's just wild. It's just crazy. Yeah.
It is wild. And I've been made redundant twice. And I think that's given me, have you?
I've been made redundant, yeah.
Oh, remind me to talk about push-ups, about your plan, because I've done really similar. But back to the work thing is, I remember being in floods of tears at my first ever job. And I was covering head of marketing for a natural energy drink company at 22 because my boss was on maternity leave and something had gone wrong. And I was in floods of tears. And one of the operations managers turned around to me and he was like, Amy, it's just fruit juice. And I was like, oh my God, it's such a good point. The manipulation and the toxicity and the pressure that can come from being part of a commercial organization. And Alex Hormozy, a really good thing that he's really plugging at the moment about, will it matter at your funeral?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that's such a good way for people to reframe work if they're being treated like rubbish.
Yeah. I mean, I even remember before I became a coach, I was self-employed. I was self-employed for 12 and a half years as a seamstress. So I ran my own clothing alteration business. Yeah. And I ran it from home. And of course, when you're starting a business, as you will know, you do tend to push it. You make your prices cheap and you do as much work as possible, you know.
You say yes and you have no boundaries.
You say yes and you just, basically. So I remember, and back then, I think when I was doing it, I remember doing like ball dresses. So that felt, there was a bit of pressure there because it had, there was a timeline or bridesmaids dresses. I even remember I did some of the All Blacks suits. So that was like major pressure.
Oh my goodness.
Which was crazy. Only because I knew my cousin owns an alteration firm in Auckland. So I'm in New Plymouth, and so they just made the contact connection while they were down here once. Anyway, it was just an example. And I just remember like being in tears, being so upset, being like, again, not making a lot of money. So it was just felt like you were basically treating everyone around you like crap, but you were putting your business as the forefront. And I remember my neighbor, her husband was a doctor. And I remember she comes to me, she goes, babe, it's just clothing. It's just like, and in a nice way, like not in a way of like trying to undermine my business, but just like, put it in perspective. Basically, it's, it's not like someone's life is on the line. Like you're not going to kill someone. It's, it's just
but at the time,
it's just something. Yeah, but at the time you feel like,
it wraps it up into your identity, your self-worth, your income, your ability to live the life that you lead. Like,
everything. And when you're trying to do that, and so like that's where those boundaries get blurred, your values shift, everything changes because you're like, but I need to do this, it's the most important thing. And it really wasn't until I was in the business for 12 and a half years, and 2 years of that was when COVID, like, so 2020, I ended in 2022, but 2020 when COVID hit, and I obviously had a break from it. And so I went more into coaching because I had been coaching. So I was doing both at one point, like for a couple of years I was doing, doing coaching on the side, and I was doing clothing.
Idiot with two businesses. Yeah.
What they call the multrepreneur. So you're like doing multiple things. And I remember just being like, I can't keep this up, but like you got to pay the bills, right? And so I was like, when COVID happened and I had to take, I couldn't do clothing because it was contact, like I had to, so I had to step back.
Yeah.
And I remember when I really stepped up my coaching at that point, because people really actually took off, because people were like, let's evaluate my life. I hate it. Like, this is, or whatever, or they wanted to make changes, because it kind of seemed like a time when people stopped, paid attention, did different things.
They had lots
of divorces happened, lots of career changes, all sorts of things. And I remember when I went back to sewing, just naturally, because I was kind of like, I guess I'll open the doors again, because I still had, leftovers from when people would come to me. And I just remember sitting in my chair being like, I'm so done. I'm so done with this. And it took a lot of courage. It took a lot of courage to try and do something, like go into coaching full time, and something that I had only been really like dipping my toes in for a couple of years. And I was doing well at it. Don't get me wrong, but there was still the self-perception of like, I'm not really a coach, like I'm still a sewer. And, it took me a bit to actually make that shift, to be like, no, I help transform people's lives. This is amazing. Like, I'm good at this. I know that I'm good at this. But it took, again, because the ego comes in and tries to destroy, what good you can do. And I had to have some pretty stern words with myself. But I noticed the 2 years, prior to that happening, I was kind of getting snappy with people. I was just over it. I was just over having people come into my house and being in my hallway waiting to get their clothes altered, and having half my house taken up by sewing machines and fitting rooms. And it was just, it was great. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. But at that last 2 years was when I should have actually been like, even before COVID, I should have been like, I'm done, and like stepped out. But often, trying to, that whole saying, leap and the net will appear, is amazing. It certainly did have to leap at times, but sometimes you need to leap with also having a bit of a calculated leap, because you can't always leap if you don't have the money to, so I guess it's knowing that, yes, you still need to take these chances. It's even like me creating this course. This has been a huge learning curve, a huge change in my business structure, going from solely one-on-one and group to online courses, to an online course, sorry. It's a huge change, from what I'm used to. I've gone into more of a teaching role, because that's what happens. Like, I was used to kind of being in a one-on-one scenario, which I still do, obviously, where it's myself and another person, and it's kind of like, we're back and forth. When you're an online course, it's now I'm essentially a teacher, because that's what you're doing. You're talking about what you do. Which
is scary.
It's scary. Yeah. It took a lot of courage to go, I'm putting myself out there and I'm doing this thing, and is someone going to sign up? Hi. And I mean, it was awesome, because I've got just over 50 people in my first cohort, which is amazing.
I was going to ask, because was it 4th of August it launched?
Yeah, it actually ended up being the week after because of some technical difficulties. Don't you love that? But yeah, so a week later it launched, and it's awesome. Like, the feedback has been like phenomenal. Like, it's just incredible. Yeah. So I'm really stoked I've done it.
Are you having intakes every?
So essentially the course is actually still open for anyone to like go into, but that expires on the 12th of November. So it's a 6-week course, and if you sign up early on, you obviously get that full 90 days to actually do the course. It's only $200 because it's a $200 course, because it's a pilot run. It's basically a live interaction from my members and clients that can give me feedback to be like, I love this. I would love if you could put this in, or whatever, just getting some feedback so that I can kind of make it better as I go. And then when that's done, obviously the price will go up, it'll change and get all of that. But at the moment, you can still actually log in, pay for it, and do the course, because you've got till the 12th of November. But
this is good.
So 6 weeks. Yeah.
Include a link.
So it's 6 weeks. So the first week we do the nervous system. The second week we do shifting your mindset. The third week we do facilitating behavior change. The fourth week we do gentle nutrition, which is basically intuitive eating and navigating hunger, which is to do with like your hunger hormones and hunger and fullness, making peace with food, all of that.
In a minute. Yeah.
And then week 5 is how to discover your true self, which is kind of the ego and everything I was just talking about. And then week 6 is feeling and healing, which is basically coming to the end and recognizing, let's just change how you do life. So I've had I've had so many people write oh my God, this course is actually life-changing. And they're only at week 2 or 3. So it's like, that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool, it's cool to get that kind of feedback. Yeah.
Such a cool feeling, isn't it?
Yeah,
I keep saying, that's what I do when I do. And I'm like, I run discounts or anything or do free mini consultations to get people onto the program. I'm like, I just shamelessly want more of you to feel this feeling.
Yeah, totally.
It's so good.
It's so empowering. That's what I want to shift people from feeling disempowered to feeling empowered, to being like, I can actually make these changes and I can take control of my life.
Yeah. Feelings of being like lost and out of control to like, hang on a sec, I've got it back. Yeah,
you're back in the driver's seat, instead of being an idle.
Like yourself
you're
again.
Like,
back in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
So tell me, Michelle, because this is technically a lot of what I do is nutrition based, apart from
of course.
mindset and fitness, but it's more about like what we talked about, like fitness opportunities throughout the day. So like before work in the morning, before any distractions, at lunchtime, get out at lunchtime and get some vitamin D. And then could you go for a walk before or after dinner? Because, 3 15-minute walks is suddenly 45 minutes a day. And that's game changing.
That. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Totally game changing.
So minor, and it made me giggle when you talked about the planks, because when I got COVID, it literally, I did an F45 workout the day
oh my
I
God.
got it. It was
Are you serious?
So bad. I felt like an 80-year-old with emphysema. I had no idea, and so my lungs were taken down so badly. I went from I think I had the heart rate of an elite athlete, like 42 or something weird, to like
my God.
Unable to exercise, like just fully.
Wow. And so your lungs took a hit, man. Yeah. Wow.
Took a bloody hit. So my version of the plank was doing 20 push-ups.
Yeah.
Before and after my shower every morning.
Love it.
And I just built it up.
Yeah.
And then if you shower twice a day, I built it up to 30 push-ups.
Yep.
Sounds so minor. In conjunction with walking to keep my legs going, obviously, and eventually gentle biking, but even that was a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the end of, I didn't even go to the gym before everyone else wedding shredded. I got married in February and I hadn't been to the gym in a year. But I had been walking and biking and doing, by that point, 30 push-ups before my shower, after my shower.
Amazing.
Morning and evening, which if you stack it up, it's 120 push-ups a day.
That's a lot of push-ups.
It's a lot, hey? And so it's really interesting what you start small.
Yeah.
Because you're like, this is all I can deal with.
Yeah.
But then you get that sense of achievement and you slowly build it back.
That's right. And, walking in of itself is so underrated, but it's so good. It's so underrated. Walking was the one thing I reckon helped me shift my relationship with food to a much healthier place, because I was trying to get away from diet culture, like real strict dieting, and into kind of more of a recognizing what calories were, knowing what hunger and fullness and our hunger hormones and all of that. But I wanted to still be aware of what I was taking in, like actually the calorie element, which people can get, scared of because of previous diet examples. But at the same time, wanting to be able to actually go out and eat dessert and have the food that I love. And I would walk every morning for eventually I got to sort of 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes it was between 5K to 10K, depending on the morning.
Wow.
But I was doing that every morning before I really shifted weight. That I shifted by 18 kilos over a year and a half, just by walking every morning, doing very basic weights here and there, just shifting my portion sizes, making sure I prioritize protein for breakfast.
I was about to say, tell me more about that. So what seemed to you like really basic stuff? Yeah, so
I had come from, obviously, I lost 42 kilos in a year way back in 2018, I think it was. No, sorry. No, 2008. way back when I did this was sort of like primal and paleo days, like early on with Mark Sisson. I don't know if you actually in his book. Yeah,
that is so fascinating, because that's how I started.
Yeah, so I lost Mark Sisson's
Primal Blueprint.
I'm in one of his books. There's my before and after because I went from 107 kilos to 65-ish or whatever it was. I can't even remember
I'm
the numbers.
Gonna go, it's actually under my laptop.
Is it? Which one is it? He's got a couple of them. It's in one of them. I'm not sure which one of them.
He's got a few. The one I've got at the moment, I've got Primal Endurance because I ran a marathon a few years ago.
Definitely won't be that one. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I've got a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's in one of them. I can't remember which one, but it is in one of them. There's actually like a picture of me and my story. And so anyway, I started that way. I lost that amount of weight, which was like fantastic. And then, but I kind of got that kind of brought on a bit of, I guess you would call, it wasn't like an eating disorder. It was just more that kind of really getting... orthorexia. Yeah, but orthorexia. Yeah, so it kind of brought on a bit of that because I was very much like, it's got to be clean. The clean eating bloody fucking anyway. We won't go down that path, but I kind of got a little bit like I was counting the carbs and cucumbers, and honestly, it just actually got ridiculous. Like because I was like, right, I want to lose more weight, and like the goalpost always moves. It was like I've got to lose more and whatever. So I kind of got a little bit to that way, and so I hadn't had carbs for ages, and I was down that road, and that was fine. It worked for getting a huge amount of weight off, which was fantastic. But once I had hit that weight was probably when I needed to actually reintroduce some like healthy carbohydrates that would help me.
Increase portions or something.
Increase portions, yeah. And so I basically spent a while kind of almost going the opposite way. I hadn't completely lost it all, but I was going through some struggles with my father, which was boundaries, and he hasn't been well his whole life mentally. And so I, again, hadn't set any boundaries. I was just doing all the stuff for him, and I kind of ended up being like, I've got to put, some boundaries in place. I had a big break from seeing him, which was a whole other story. But at that time, I remember I had gained about that sort of 15 or 18 kilos back because I was just being very unconscious in my food choices. I was, not looking after myself. I guess because I had gone so far down the rabbit hole with the extreme orthorexia, like not having carbs and stuff like that, I was like, right, I need to reverse this. I worked with a nutritionist. She was like, we need to introduce, some carbs and get your adrenals working again. All that. So anyway, got back into that, and then I found myself having gained weight that I felt quite crap about myself, and I was like, God, like I can't believe I'm back here. This is awful. Like I'm back to this place, but I was like, I can't do that really extreme dieting again. I just can't get. And not that the first one was extreme, but I just didn't want to go back to that orthorexic place. So I was like,
right, I took it quite seriously.
I did. So
I
tend to take things to the extreme. I have a bit of dichotomous thinking, which is very black and white,
Oh, God.
So so I wanted to shift to the middle, navigating the middle. I wanted to find that middle ground. So that's where the program was born. And I was like, right, I want to be able to eat anything I want to eat, but I'm going to focus on nourishing myself first and foremost, 80-20 rule, which is still, it's very similar to what I was doing. It was just giving myself permission to go, you can have dessert when you go out, you can eat potatoes with your dinner, you can have like small amounts of carbs throughout the day, but just don't go eating a whole bowl of pasta with no protein or fat or anything. It was just actually being sensible about start your day with eggs or whatever, just give yourself a decent amount of protein. Even if it was eggs on toast, that didn't matter so much about being perfect. It was more about just making sure my portions weren't too big, making sure I prioritized protein, making sure most of my plate was full of veggies at lunch and dinner, just really sensible choices, obviously. And then on top of that, walking every day, and slowly, I think I lost like a kilo a month. It was really slow, like because I wasn't doing anything extreme, but that's actually quite a huge amount to move in that amount of time. I mean, most people, if they actually started and they started doing that, they'd get to their goal in a year and they'd be stoked. I mean, I know that a lot of people want to do it faster, but if you have come from an extreme dieting background, fast is not always better, if you are someone
need to be a little bit more gentle.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, depending on the person. I mean, it's different for everyone, right? And it's just knowing what your background is and what your body is gonna agree with and not agree with. And for me, that worked, and it helped me get to that place of like, I can eat the foods I enjoy. I can have a biscuit. I can have some chocolate. I can have what I want to have, but just knowing that I can't have it all at once right now, like every day, you know,
you're so right. Because I would say my plan is probably pretty close to something that like Mark's system would recommend.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a little bit more leeway, like in terms of like, I suppose like more like sweet potato, dark chocolate every night, like bits and pieces like that. But also I leave the weekends completely flexible. So I put in recommendations. And that's where I was really scared to let go of the one-on-one coaching and put programs online, because I'm still offering message support, because it's that I ate some lollies on Saturday night and it's like, that is totally fine. And like, I think you talked about like falling off the wagon. You haven't fallen off the wagon.
No.
Like you've made so much progress. You've changed so much. And actually it's the power of understanding. Obviously there's so much mindset stuff that comes into it, but also just changing that rhetoric of I've fallen off the wagon, I'm starting again, to starting from a new starting point.
Yeah, totally. Almost. Yeah, I mean, it's just knowing that like baseline. All the work you've done has not gone to waste. You know, it's the whole like don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. You know, it's a saying for a reason again, because sometimes we get so into perfectionistic tendencies, and that, like I said, that very dichotomous thinking that we're like, if we can't do it right, we won't do it at all.
It's crippling.
It's crippling. It stops people from making any progress. Where if you can be like, okay, one meal, one day, even if it was a weekend, it doesn't matter. Like, so long as you just get back on track and start making those choices, not even like, just kick off from where you were, you know, just get back to the breakfast that you normally eat, just get back to the lunch that you normally eat, you know, and try not to overthink it. And I noticed for myself, it wasn't until, because I used to be like the kind of person, we'd have Friday night, whatever we want to eat, and then I'd be like, right, Saturday morning, going for brunch, and then lunchtime was like, then, you know, dinner time was like a big pig out fest, and it'd be like, have dessert and do it. I'd just totally like go completely all out, because my week would be so strict. I think a lot of people can relate to this.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
I'd be like, you know, then I'd come Monday again, and I'd be like, it would be hard to get back on track, because I'd just be like, oh my God, like I've just, you know, because when you're when you're under the spell of all that hedonistic food, you tend to crave more of it. So you're kind of in that, like, your appetite's been hijacked. You're in this kind of like state of, you know, like, I'm struggling to, you know, get back to eating just like some eggs and fruit for breakfast or whatever. And
it's the dopamine, isn't it? It's the exciting food, the sugar.
It's the exciting food.
And you're like, suddenly the eggs look really bloody boring.
I know. But like, the thing is, if you didn't eat for like 2 days, if you get a tummy bug, when you go to eat something like eggs, you know, it tastes so good because you haven't eaten. You know, so I guess it's just being able to reset, knowing. I actually learned that from Mickey years and years ago. I went to one of her seminars. God, it was such a long time ago. And I remember her talking about your appetite and how, you know, too many of those hedonistic foods and processed foods and too many carbs and sugars and stuff really will hijack your whole appetite regulation. And you get basically what and I call it the hungry horrors. You basically get this feeling of like insatiable hunger that like nothing will kind of do it. And as much of it is your head, it also is your hunger hormones have been hijacked, you know. So I guess, you know, I understanding that, so I guess understanding all the sort of science behind it, to me, always helps with adherence in my mind. Like for the way that I work, I can only adhere to something when I actually have the information of why it needs to be changed. That's you know, a lot of people want the Simon Says, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But I'm personally someone who's like, I need to be informed on why I'm doing this.
Tell me why. And
you know, tell me why.
A lot of diets, I think, does Mickey's plan, she does a protein sparing modified fasting, is it?
Yeah, I think
but
so.
I've always been really nervous to do anything that extreme, not extreme, but like because so many people are like, oh, that's too much. But the magic is of something like that, it's not necessarily even the nutrition, it's resetting your brain.
That's right.
To eat such simple food just for one day.
That's
you
right.
then go and look at some other food and you're like, like it just resets your dopamine triggers, I think. And
it does.
That's what I like my background's in like the geographies of obesity and health
Oh,
and
wow.
how we interact with like consumption spaces
Yeah.
and our food systems. And I always say to people, like, they're not, you know, fighting with themselves, they're fighting with the environment around them that we now live in, because
Yes.
it's a
100%.
like, we've talked about dopamine a lot, but like so many people are like, oh, if I haven't breakfast, I grab a scone with my coffee.
Yeah.
And then, if I haven't, there's crackers in the office, or like someone's done some baking, or like I just go out to lunch to grab, you know, a sandwich or sushi, and and then they're starving because they haven't eaten any protein all day, and they get home and they raid the pantry because they're tired. They've got decision fatigue from work, and they're like, just get anything in my body. And have you heard about the protein leverage hypothesis?
I haven't heard it called that, but I'm assuming it's something about basically having a lot of protein in the morning, or having protein that helps balance your blood sugar.
Yeah. So there's the leptin and ghrelin balancing of hunger and satiety hormones and your blood sugar. But also there's this theory that your body will overeat all food, like especially protein, and especially fat and carbohydrates, until your protein needs are met.
Oh yes, totally.
Which I think is,
sorry, it's just called so something else that I've called different things.
It's so true, because you can overeat chips and chocolate so easily.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Try overeating them after you've just eaten like a steak or chicken breast.
I know, and like the thing is, like you can't even overeat a chicken breast or steak. Like you get to it and you're just like, there is this, I can't have any more chicken, you know? But if you put like a donut or like hot chips in front of you, you can just keep going and keep going and keep going, you know? So one of my little boundary rule things I would always make for myself is have my protein first, and then whatever I have afterwards comes second. So I'd always make sure I fill up on the protein. And that doesn't mean I couldn't have carbs. It just meant, because I had to get away from that, but it meant that the carbs didn't need to be the dominating part of the plate. You know, it was just like, you know, make sure you get a decent amount of protein, fill the rest of it with veggies, and also make sure you get like a handful of carbs or a fistful or whatever. Because what I found for myself personally, my hormones took a real hit when I did really strict keto, and I couldn't sleep because of the way that your liver
being so fully in ketosis.
Being so if I go heavily into ketosis, I can't sleep. I get really bad leg pain, and it's not just about the electrolytes, because I can have like 4 grams of salt to try and alleviate it, and it doesn't change it. I think I'm just susceptible to restless legs, so it exacerbates that for me. So I know for myself personally, but it does, I mean, it's got a great advantage because it helps with the appetite hugely. But at the same time, you know, I'm in sort of the beginning stages of perimenopause, it was like you need a little, for me personally, I just know that I need that little bit of carb to make sure that I don't go heavily. But I still I still do better when I'm not in like a high carbohydrate amount. If I'm like over 100 grams, I'm just like ravenous.
Yeah, you and me both. I keep them quite low, but when there's loads of people, even my friends, go, you don't eat carbs, and I'm like, that's actually complete rubbish. Like, I definitely do. But it's the people who, they come to me and they're so unhappy and they're so lost, and they don't understand why their body just keeps storing fat, and they're eating like 30 to 45 teaspoons of sugar a day, equivalent in carbohydrates. They don't understand that their body can't burn body fat if that has to be burnt first.
That's right.
And you're right. Carbs aren't bad. It's the quantity of when you're eating the standard Kiwi diet.
That's right. I think it's like 60. Is it like 60? It's over 60 teaspoons of sugar in a standard like Kiwi diet.
Oh, I mean,
it's a lot.
It's bad. It's bad. It's really
bad.
And you know what's so interesting? It's like I have an amazing client. He's actually we're hoping to lose 50 kilos, so that's really exciting. But
awesome.
He's an epic guy. But he was like, I eat a pie, and then I eat a pie, and then I drink Coke, and then I eat pizza, and I was like, just stuff like that. Like, but that's great. Right? He knows that's bad. Like,
yeah, of course.
And that's okay. Like, it's hilarious. But it's the women who are really intelligent. They're trying to choose the healthy granola or the whole grain toast and the vegan muffin and the sushi, because that's healthy, or a really starchy soup. Or these bliss balls that are actually just like little date sugar bombs. And then having my food bag for dinner, which is 3/4 rice. I know they do.
Yeah, totally.
But this is the story. And
totally.
Yeah.
It just sets you up to fail. Like, again, it's like your environment is going to change. Your environment's going to dictate how much you eat, how much you exercise, everything. I mean, it's going to dictate everything that you do, you know? And so if you don't have it set up in a way that's going to help you, and that's the thing, you got to put those systems in place. You know, it's pretty, I mean, it's
the boring, the type 2, the expensive dopamine.
Yeah, the boring. You know, I mean, the thing is, it's not sexy, and that's why it doesn't sell. Like, sexy and, you know, anything that's alluring and can get you results like that is what sells. That's what people want, because they don't want to have to put in the hard yards of actually putting systems in place that are, quite frankly, just really monotonous and sometimes quite boring. But the fact is that when you get good at it and you kind of, you know, I've gotten to the point that I know, you know, like, I'll batch cook up, you know, I've got a sous vide, so I batch cook up chicken and things like that, so that I know that, and I do like grated beetroot and all sorts of stuff. I have everything prepped so that when it comes time to lunch, I just pull it out and it's done. People used to say to me, "Oh my God, your food's amazing, but where do you have the time?" And I'm like, "No, you got to prep."
You like 1-2 hours on a Sunday and you're sorted.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, you have to do that first.
Yeah, and I think people just don't want to have to put the admin in, you know, because especially if you're tired, right? If you're someone that's, like I said, burning the candle at both ends and you're tired, you're like, but what they don't realize is if you can just push through and make yourself do that, then the energy will come, you know, from the good eating. You know, the nourishing food will actually energize you. You'll feel so much better.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you. So how much do you believe that food affects your brain?
Oh, my God, so much.
In terms of mental health and all sorts.
Yeah, hugely. Like, oh God, I think it's honestly like, I'd say that food, exercise and sleep are the 3 things that will dictate your mental health. And it's not saying that you won't ever struggle with mental health, you know, like
have down days.
Or to have down days. It doesn't mean that that's going to cure you from needing an antidepressant or whatever. Like, it's not saying that, but if you don't have those things nailed down, you're going to struggle so much more, you know, like, because your brain needs to have like the healthy fats, the proteins, the not so much sugars, like, you know, it just does so much better when it's functioning on fuel that it actually can recognize, as opposed to food like products that are processed and, you know, not actually food.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. I feel like we could talk for like another hour and a half.
Oh, easily.
But we might have to like cut it off there. I was about to go down.
Oh God, yeah, I just realizing what the time is. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're at like an hour and 20.
But I loved every minute.
Oh my God. Loved it.
So
awesome.
How I usually end is anything else that you want to share with people, Michelle, but we do a takeaway dessert on this podcast. So if you could give people a 1 or 2 or 3 takeaways, here we go, 20 minutes later, from today, what would you say?
Oh gosh, I think explore your self-perception would probably be your beliefs and how you see yourself. Explore that and actually question if you think that is accurate or who you actually are. I would say look at the amount of dopamine you are getting on a daily basis, and if you are picking up your phone just to scroll and not actually for a purpose, your dopamine system has been hijacked. So you actually sometimes need to have, you know, like a weekend off social media or without your device, which is extremely hard to do, but that would help hugely. And then I would probably say recognizing your getting your environment set up for success. So making sure that you have your food prepped, your exercise clothes out. Just simple things. Making sure I make sure I have plates that are coloured in like a mid blue, which means that's a whole nother subject. I talk about that in my course. Basically, making sure you have not white plates, because then you can't see how much of the like white rice and the starches that you have. So it's a trick that your brain uses to eat less of the stuff you don't want to eat. So your environment is huge. My course has got a lot in it. Like we talk sleep. Oh God, we talk the plates, everything. Just everything that I've talked about today is pretty much covered in my course. Even plate size. I feel like we could go down a massive tangent on that. Oh God, we could go down a massive tangent. But like there are so many little tricks. It's not about having like hacks and hacking your way there. It's just knowing that there's little strategies you can put in place and little tools that can help you to make doing this a little easier. Because making these changes it's hard. Like I get it, it's not simple to completely change your diet and the way that you show up in the world. But when you do, you can feel like a completely different person and you won't even recognize the old version of yourself. And that is exciting. That's really cool. Yeah.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
I really like that. And I think you're testament to the fact that once you do change the course of your river down the mountain, once it starts to form a new course, it starts to flow quite easily. Absolutely. So once you've made that big first change, start to stack up those little things. Yeah.
And it has such a ripple effect. I think that's the coolest thing, because you start paying attention to all the other things that normally you were probably just misattributing to willpower or whatever, and it was likely something else, So I think that can be, the rewiring of your brain is really the most important element. And I think you can have the most perfect diet plan, but if you don't do the brain work and understand that part of your mind, you're going to make it a lot harder for yourself. Yeah.
Amazing. I think I'm going to have to stop us there. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You can find Michelle at michellemartangi.com.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Right. And on Instagram. And I'll put links to everything in the show notes. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. I've loved it. Awesome.
Good. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lifestyle Design Secrets podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please do stop and take 2 seconds to subscribe and leave us a review. It means the world to us. If you are curious about working with us or checking out our new bite-sized guides or our full body reset transformation programs, please do head on over to our website, which is www.amysfitnessandnutrition.co.nz. Have a great day.